So if you're one of my regular viewers out there, you already know I've gone through a humongous change here in my studio. I got rid of all of that acoustic foam in here and I put up 10 high-end acoustic panels from the John Hunter Acoustics company. Check out the link for their website in the more info area of this video. This is a small company in the United States, all based in California, great handmade stuff. I highly, highly recommend them. And today I'm going to talk about why I chose these specific panels over all the other ones that are online. As far as affordable panels go, you're not going to find anything else that matches these, okay? So, number one thing I want to talk about. Okay, so these are 4x2, right? This is just like the one that's on the wall behind me, right? 4x2, and they are absorbent on all 6 sides. I'm going to say that again. They are absorbent on all 6 sides. I haven't found any other company that's doing that. Everything I've seen online, and correct me if I'm wrong, I'm happy to be wrong about this, but everything I saw, like especially the DIY ones, like here's how you do it, build a frame, stick foam. That frame is going to reflect sound, and it might not be a lot, but when you add that up over 10 panels, that's a whole bunch of new reflections that you just created in your room. Depending on the space, depending on your situation, those new reflections might not be a good thing. Probably they're not going to be, right? So these are absorbent on the sides, on both sides here, obviously front and back. They are able to do that by having 2 separate frames. So there's 2 hardwood, high-end wood frames, but they're not connected internally. They're sort of separated by the foam. It keeps the fabric tight and everything in, shape and all that stuff. But they are able to absorb on all 6 sides. And I'm hitting on that a lot because that is a big, big deal. If you're aware of like the Acoustimat panels on Amazon, right? Those things are not absorbent on all 6 sides. In fact, they're only absorbent on 1 side. And that's something I want you guys to know. The sides are hard composite material and the back, at least the last ones that I ever saw, the back of them were solid, which I don't understand why you would do that. You're making a whole new reflective surface by doing that. I don't know why you would do that. So anyway, the John Hunter acoustic panels do not have that issue. I just wanted you to be aware of those little points, but significant points in the design differences between those and these, okay? Another thing that might be of concern to you, as it was for me, is when you're mounting these things on the wall that you are supposed to have a little bit of space, right? The panels are not supposed to go directly right up on the wall. But in my situation here, I don't have a ton of space, but I got 10 panels. So if all of those panels had to be a little bit off the wall, that was going to take up a lot of space in my room. So this guy right here, you can see it's flat against the wall. And the reason that I'm able to do that is because of this little gap right here. So this is about a 1.5 inch gap right here. This is plenty of space to do what I need it to do, which is not have it up against the wall, give it a little bit of airspace behind the panel, so it does, it'll hit that wall and come back out instead of not, right? In the Acoustimat case, the sound will go in, hit its hard-backed surface, and then just spit it back out. And it won't be nearly as effective if it had to pass through some air before it hit that panel, right? Really small thing, but when you're talking about small spaces, mounting stuff on the walls, I don't know about you, but I like that kind of stuff to be simple. So this was probably the easiest stuff that I could find to mount. They did send tons and tons of hardware, which I thought was great. In fact, I have tons of it left over. I always like people who send me more than enough on the hardware side. Anybody out there who's ever built an IKEA thing, maybe you lost 1 or 2 screws throughout the process, you know what I'm talking about. Now, the other big feature of these panels is that they're broadband panels, okay? So that means they are broadband. That means they're getting every frequency that you and I as engineers, home studio engineers, that's what we're listening to, right? These are going to deal with all of those frequencies pretty much down to 100 hertz. They're solid to 100 and they start dropping off a little bit below 50, but you can resolve that by getting more panels or talking to them because they will make you custom panels. That's pretty cool. JohnHunterAcoustics.com. Check it out for all those details. This is an unsponsored video. I paid for these panels. I did specifically talk to him, let him know I was doing this because I really wanted to help his company. I'm a small company too. GarageBand & Beyond is a small company. So is John Hunter Acoustics, but they're doing big things out in California. They've done some huge installations at some really famous studios. famous theaters, all sorts of stuff. These guys are absolutely professional, and they send you drawings, they look at your room pictures, you give them dimensions, they'll tell you exactly what you want. There's a really, really high level of customer care over there. That means a lot to me when I'm trying to purchase something that is sort of, still sort of an unknown to a degree, like what am I actually getting here? The phone service over there, totally exceptional. They were really very knowledgeable, able to answer every single question that I had. So if you got questions, hit them up, emails, phone calls, find them on the website. The other thing is they're covered in polyester, right? And that is awesome. It is not burlap. I in no way, shape, or form wanted burlap. Burlap might look pretty for a couple of months, but here are the reasons I don't like burlap. It fades over like a 1-year period. Even if you're inside, they will fade from just regular life and usage. It's all organic material, right? That stuff doesn't have a ton of longevity. Burlap was never really meant to be this material that's gonna last and look beautiful forever. It's burlap. The other thing is that burlap picks up a lot of dust. It's very difficult to clean. If you have like a vacuum with a little attachment, I don't know about you, but I don't really feel like cleaning off this whole surface with something that's 2 inches wide. You know how effective that's gonna be, right? So they're also fireproofed, which I really like. You guys know I had a house burn down. The fireproofing was sprayed from the inside, which is huge because that means you can go around and clean these things off. The polyester material cleans really easily with like a white paper towel and some OxyClean or just like a Swiffer pad or something. You can just wipe it over, totally clean it off. It's stain resistant also. So, me getting white was no big deal. I was like, oh, stain resistant, you can wash it? Perfect, that's right up my alley. I got white because I make a lot of videos here in the room and I didn't really want anything that was gonna reflect colors back at me, especially when I turn my lights on and stuff. I do have to be aware of that. So I know a few of you might be like, oh, why'd you get plain old white? Well, number one, I like the white. And number two, it makes my space look bigger. If these were all dark panels in a small room, this room would look a lot smaller, and that's not something I'm interested in. But again, the reflective nature of the light that would be coming back at me, also an important factor for me personally as a YouTuber. I don't want, red or blue or anything reflecting back on my face. Makes my color correcting a big pain in the butt later down the road. Now on those Acoustimat panels that are available on Amazon, I wanted to talk about why I didn't get those, okay? So one of the things that I didn't like about them so much is that the frames that they have are internal, but they're solid on the sides out of some composite material. I think it's like particle board or something. So it's not even like high-end hardwood, right? You want high-end hardwood in here. You do not want particle board. And then the other thing is that they have hard surfaces on the back. Not great, right? We just don't like that. So, and they're also like 1 inch thick, a lot of their panels, and that is primarily for high-end. These are broadband. High-end is not the only thing I needed to tame in this space, right? So that's why I chose these, you guys. They're affordable, they're high quality, they look great, super easy to install. I will recommend if you're doing the ones on the ceiling, get somebody to help you with that because sometimes the little S-hooks, it was my kind of situation was like I put 2 of them in and then the other 2 I'd bump one and one would fall and it was just sort of cumbersome and I really wished that I'd had somebody else helping me. Just wasn't the situation that day, but definitely recommended having a friend. I don't think there's a whole lot more I have to say about this. I think you understand. I am thoroughly enthusiastic about these panels. The sound in my room has gotten so much better. The low end got tighter, the low end got punchier, the high end got reduced, which I was totally shocked by. I really thought that my M-Audio monitors just didn't have the greatest tweeters in them. Those silk tweeters tend to be a little brash and can be a little, you know what I'm talking about if you have monitors that do that, right? What I learned by putting these panels up is that it wasn't my monitor's fault, it was the room's fault. And that was a mind-blowing revelation for me. I had been looking for new monitors and thinking, well, let's put the panels up and see what happens. Hopefully that changes something. And to my ears, it was almost like getting brand new monitors because the monitors that I've been listening to for all these years suddenly sounded really, really different. It was awesome. I put up the panels and it was like, hey, new monitors basically, but I got the sound in the room to be reacting differently, and that's what's going on. And it's primarily the panel that's directly behind my computer now that is in front of the piece of glass, right? There's a window right in front of me. and that glass was reflecting back a lot of high end, right? The point behind me is the first point of reflection. So sound was coming this way, going out that way, going that way, hitting that window, and then coming back at me. It wasn't great, and I didn't even realize how bad that problem was. You might be somebody sitting there staring at a window when you mix and going, oh my gosh, maybe I should just get a panel behind the window. If you put a panel behind the window, panel back here, 2 on the sides and 1 on your ceiling, that's 5 panels. I think that would be a really good place to start. And I think you would really start understanding how many panels you might need more, you might need less. But I think just getting a few of these right out of the gate, if you're like not so excited about plunking down a bunch of money for 10 of them, it is an investment, but this is for people, who are really trying to take their mixing seriously. If you have a home recording studio or any studio and your space isn't properly treated, that is something you should really be looking at. This is a big, big component of the recording world, is the space that we record in. You're watching my channel, so most likely you're recording at home, just like me. These are not anything but little boxes that we live and record in, right? So being able to do this in an affordable way that's easy to set up, but is actually functional and actually does what you need it to do, which is absorb the broadband spectrum. It's a huge deal, you guys. And for any of you out there, with foam all over your room, I've said it before here on the channel, that foam is only doing high end. Unless you have other bass traps in the room, then you might be dealing with some of the low end, but not a lot of the low end. I mean, if you got 4 bass traps in your corners, you're dealing with a small fraction of the low end in your room. And you're only really dealing with just the main problem areas, but you might not fully comprehend that there's a bunch of problem areas in your room. I put these panels up and just everything changed for the better. My mixes are getting better. It's easier to do long mixing sessions in here now. The room looks way better, obviously, right? It's cleaner, it's brighter, it's nicer. I'm a big, big fan of these panels. So I think that's about all I'm supposed to say today. Check out the John Hunter acoustic panels, you guys. They are really, really top-notch stuff. You're helping out a small company grow, which I love. And I'm super appreciative that they exist and make these panels and that I can show you guys, because that's the mission here on GarageBand and Beyond. I try to find affordable things that meet that high expectation that I have, right? I'm not rich. I don't have a ton of money, but I do have expensive tastes, So I really searched for months and months and months looking for the right panels, because I knew that if I built them, they weren't going to be what I really wanted. So I wanted to find somebody that really has done the math, the calculations, experimented, all that kind of stuff. They're really great panels. I think you should know that I like them by now. So unsponsored video here, you guys. This is money out of my own pocket from my patron people on Patreon. They helped me pay for this big studio change. So thank you to my patrons. Thank you to John Hunter Acoustics for being, out there and making these amazing panels. I'm a big fan, you guys. So if you have any questions or comments, please leave them down below, of course, or hit up John Hunter Acoustics over on their website. Like I said earlier, they have great customer service and they were really knowledgeable. I sent them pictures and dimensions of the room and they came up with exactly what I needed, and it is exactly what I needed in here. So hit that subscribe button, notification bell if you give a crap, and always find me on Instagram and Facebook and all that stuff. I'm always over there chatting, answering questions, and being part of the online world as it is. So you guys have a fantastic day, and I will see you again here on Friday, all right? Peace.